It is 17 past the hour. Our temperature outside 59 degrees. And the Coffee Klatch continues because Pat Cahill has arrived from Buffalo Ridge Defense. Morning, Pat.
Good morning, Bob.
Well, what a fall we've had, huh?
It's been awesome. The weather has been absolutely incredible.
And it's not going to change.
We live on the lake. We live in North Twin town, so we spent a lot of time on the water.
Yeah.
We were going to take the pontoon off the water, and
decided to leave it there.
We decided to leave it on for the fall colors. It's been so nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't look like it's going to change appreciably anytime soon.
No, not at all. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to change at all. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
We're really blessed to be in here in God's country. Right?
Absolutely. Even though the DNR warns us that Polk, Burnett, and Washburn counties are at high risk for wildfires. So don't burn any brush or leaf piles till the snow flies. That's what they're telling us.
You know, and that's good because
it's a good idea.
Fires can be so devastating to a lot of property and homes and a lot of people. I mean, you know.
Just end up costing a lot of money and a lot of time and sometimes heartbreak.
Well, and don't forget the firefighters that got to fight it. It puts them at risk to put the fires out.
Absolutely. Well, I see you have something in front of you there. You must have a subject on your mind.
Well, I don't have a subject in my mind, but I just know that this weekend is the Wisconsin Deer Hunting Youth Hunt.
Oh, that's right.
And we just, we want to promote hunter safety and promote safety when we're in there and firearm safety to all responsible firearms owners, right?
Yep.
And so I thought just a good thing to just remind any of the mentors or any of the people that are taking youth out this weekend to go over those 4 basic safety rules with everyone,
All right, go ahead.
Treat every gun like it's loaded.
Because it is.
Always perform a clearance check when you pick it up. So you got to communicate that. Treat every gun like it's loaded.
Yeah.
Never point the gun at anything you don't want to destroy.
Yeah.
Keep your finger off the trigger and outside the trigger guard till you're on target and have made a decision to shoot.
Yep.
And then not only know what your target is and be sure of your target, know what's beyond your target.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
the bullet may not stop in your target. And we can go backwards through those if we want to, and say that always know your target and what's beyond. A bullet goes through a deer and hits a car going down the road. You can't shoot at a road. You have to know, what's going on at all times. And even for hunter safety, that's hunter safety, but even for home safety, if you're ever forced to defend yourself in your home, it's important, too, to realize that sheetrock walls don't just stop a bullet, right?
No,
they'll go right through the wall, and if your kids or grandkids or family members are on the other side of that wall and that gun goes off in the home, you're putting them at risk, too.
Absolutely. Not only that, but most of us who live in town, next-door neighbors are close. It
can go through, you live in an apartment building, through 3 or 4 apartments, right?
Yeah, it could.
When you're getting ready with that deer hunting rifle to go out. And then you look at the next one, it's keep your finger off the trigger. Why? And we do that because as humans, we have a sympathetic grab reflex. If something startles us, we clench our fist.
Yep.
If we fall down, we clench our fist. If we try to do something, we clench our fist. It's just something that the human body does. It's a reflex reaction. If you've got your finger on the trigger and something startles you,
bam,
and the gun goes bang, right?
Yep.
The gun goes off. Who's responsible for what happens to that bullet when it leaves the gun? You are. It's your gun. It's in your hand.
Yep.
So, you can blame all the other people in the world, but the bottom line is it's your responsibility. Whatever that bullet hits, it's your responsibility. You fired the gun.
Yep.
And then we go backwards from there. We don't point the gun at anything we don't want to destroy. Why? Because if it goes off, it's going to destroy whatever it's aiming at, right?
It's pretty simple, really.
It's really simple. And then the last one, of course, treat all guns like they're loaded. Because they could be. You don't know.
Right.
And until you perform that clearance check, you don't know the gun is loaded. So it's important when you're hunting, you're crossing a fence, jumping a ditch, climbing over a log, those guns are loaded. And you may have to, if you're by yourself or climbing up into your deer stand, it's safest to unload that firearm before you do those things.
Yep.
If you're going to cross a fence and you're hunting with a friend, then you communicate to each other these guns are loaded, but you hang on to them while one guy crosses a fence, and then you safely hand them over to the next guy.
Yeah.
But firearm safety. You can get away with maybe breaking one of those rules, but you break 2 of those rules at the same time, someone's going to get hurt or die.
Yeah.
And that's a huge responsibility.
I'd say, and it's something that most people, unless
Guys
like you remind them, most people don't even think about it.
No, they don't think about it. They're careless. They're really careless with muzzle control too. And that's one of the things with people that carry concealed weapons. If you're going to carry a concealed weapon, openly or concealed in Wisconsin, you can carry it either way. But if you're going to do that, it's discipline. Where's that gun pointing? I mean, do you leave it? You throw it in your center console of your car. You shouldn't, because that's not a safe way to carry it. It's not even a legal way to carry it unless you have a concealed carry permit, or in your glove box or under your seat. But if you carry it in a holster that's in such a way that it's aiming at everyone behind you, if you're carrying a shoulder holster that the gun sticks horizontally, and you're not comfortable or competent with using that. I mean, the whole thing boils down to practice, right?
Absolutely.
It's like owning a piano but never playing it. How good will you be in church next Sunday when you have to do it?
Exactly.
And it's the same with a firearm. If you need it and you want to use it, you have to practice with it.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean just put it in the closet till you needed it. It means handle it.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean take it out once a year and sight it in, right? I mean, that's be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
How to shoulder it, if it's a handgun, how to draw it from a holster, how to pick it up, how to safely handle it. Yeah.
All those things that people generally don't think about. If they've got a gun, they stick it someplace, and hunting season comes, that's when they go get it and handle it.
Yeah, and when you say they got a gun and they stick it someplace, that brings up another point. That in Wisconsin, first of all, federal law says if you own a handgun, and anyone under the age of 18, you give access to anyone under the age of 18, and they hurt themselves or someone else with it or commit a crime, you can be held liable.
You're responsible. Yeah.
You're responsible. It's your gun.
Yeah.
And in Wisconsin, since we're here in Wisconsin, if you own long guns, anything that can be shouldered, any long gun, if you give access to anyone under the age of 14, then you're liable for what happens to you. And and it doesn't mean you have to have a big gun safe. It doesn't mean you have to have a little lockbox to put it in. It might be a special room in your house that you put them in that has a locking door.
Exactly.
That only you've limited the access to.
Yep. Put it in a closet that you can lock.
Yeah, because there's one thing about kids. If you have children and you leave them home alone by themselves, and listen, what age can you leave someone home? 12?
Yeah. Well, when do they become not children?
Well,
at what age?
But when you leave 12-year-olds or young children home alone, what's the one thing, never your kids or anyone listening's children, but those other people's children, all right? What do they do when they're left home alone? They search the entire house out of curiosity. They've looked under every bed and every closet and every nightstand, every place there is. And if you choose to keep your firearm handy, I keep it in my nightstand next to the bed. Well, you don't think that they opened that drawer and found it?
Yep.
Of course they have. But you've taught your kids hunter safety and made your kids safe around your guns, so they know enough not to pick it up. But what happens when they turn 13 and they invite other people's kids over, and they get to allow other people's kids to come over when you're not home, right? Have friends over.
Yeah.
What's the first thing they're going to do?
They're going to look
around. They're going to go to that drawer and they're going to show, hey, you want to see something cool? Here's mom and dad's gun, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to look at that, and those other people's kids, not your kids, are going to pick that gun up, and that gun's going to go off.
Yep.
And if it goes off and someone gets hurt or dies, who's responsible for that?
You are.
You are, because you haven't, controlled access to your firearm. You've left it where people under the age of 18 can have access to that handgun. So it's an awesome responsibility. That's an important responsibility that can't be taken lightly.
I think the more you and I have talked, the more I'm kind of convinced that if you're a new gun owner and you just bought a gun for whatever reason, doesn't matter, you better call Buffalo Ridge Defense, because you won't think of all the things that can happen with a gun that you guys think of.
Yeah, and absolutely. And even if someone doesn't own a firearm, right, and they're thinking about getting a firearm, they should take one of our concealed carry courses, because many people, after they take one of our concealed carry courses, say, you know what, after taking your course, I don't think I'm going to buy a gun, and I don't think I want to ever carry a gun. Well, at least they made an informed decision.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just did a free course for everyone over in the St. Croix Falls area at the American Legion, and that was on the use of force. And the use of force applies to whether you pick up a big stick, whether you pick up a knife, whether you pick up a gun. The use of force to defend yourself or other people, the same principles apply, no matter what the weapon is you have in your hands. It even applies to your hands.
Yeah.
So it's important that you take those courses so that while we have a gun and we have weapons and we have pepper spray and we have all those things to make ourselves and our families hard to hurt,
Yeah.
we better know what the law is so we're hard to convict.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
exactly.
you're going to be, sitting right up there in the jail cell, and that's not a great place to live.
No, it's not. And it's not even a good place to visit because you may have someone there you want to visit, and that's not fun.
That's not fun, no.
No, it's not. Although, honestly, Pat, I think everybody should go see the jail.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember when they built the Justice Center and they opened it up to the media to spend a night there. That's not a place you want to spend the night.
Did you spend the night there?
I did not. Luckily, I had a job. I had to get to, so they let me out.
Okay.
But I did spend till midnight.
Well, I actually spent a night in the jail.
Did you?
When I was an investigator with the sheriff's office and a deputy, not just staying up there in my office at night. We were out one night. It was in the late 80s, I think it was. No, because I retired in 87. So it would have been the early 80s, late 70s, and I was a patrolman. And the snowstorm was so bad, the county plows had to cut out. And we were the county seat, Balsam Lake's kind of in the center of the county. And there's one deputy on, so we were kind of hanging around there so we could go any direction for an emergency.
Yep.
And I lived here in Amory, and we just decided it was a
safer to
challenge
stay there.
to get home. So they said, well, where are you going to sleep? And I said, well, don't we have an open cell here? And I trusted them not to lock the door.
Yeah, there you go.
But I think they wanted to.
But I think everybody, I believe this, I believe everybody should visit a jail, see a jail, take a tour of the jail and the dispatch center, because you have no idea.
Oh, those guys are awesome, and they
They're
put so much
just
work in.
fabulous.
Yeah, and they care about you. They really do care about you.
Absolutely.
And you should know that. And that's another thing: being prepared for your family. You should know the unique emergency response times to first responders to where you live. I mean, we live in India.
Yeah.
It's much faster than if we lived in Indian Creek.
Yeah, no kidding.
In Polk County. So you have to look at that. And I think the other thing about the jail is it's a harsh thing to remember that you have to take personal responsibility for your actions, right?
That's right.
Again, blame everybody else, but you're the one that did it. You're the one that made a mistake.
Yep,
You're the one
exactly.
that made the choice, and life's choices will keep you out of jail or put you in jail, right?
That's true. That's true. So the object is here, if you had one single thing that you came today that you wanted to remind people about, it had to do with that, right?
Well, it had to do with the youth hunt, but it also has to do with you have to be situationally aware to your surroundings at all times. You have to recognize danger. That's the first step, right? You have to. It's like following a car too close. You have to recognize if that car runs into a brick wall so you can take the appropriate action and stop in time. Being a defensive driver, you have to be responsible in your home, wherever you're at in the community, whether it's a smoke alarm, a fire alarm, a break-in, someone trying to steal something. The bottom line is you have to be situationally aware, number one, to recognize the threat. If you're not situationally aware, you can't even recognize the threat. But a deer is situationally aware, and they recognize the fact the car's coming down the road. But what do? They just stand there and look at it, let the car run into them. So not only do you have to be situationally aware and recognize the threat, the second step is you have to act. You have to take the appropriate action to get your family or yourself to safety. And if you look at the hurricane that's going on right now and the tragedies we see in North and South Carolina that's going on, are you prepared? Are you prepared for the natural disasters, the winter storms, the power outages?
It could be anything.
It could be anything, and you need to be prepared. You need to be able to recognize that situation, and you have to be prepared to take the appropriate action. And if you don't plan, if you fail to plan to fail. Right?
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
You have to take those. You have to take responsibility for your safety and your family's safety first, because you are your own first responder and your family's first responder.
Wow. Well, all right. If somebody's interested, Buffalo Ridge Defense.
They can just reach out to me. They can find us at buffaloridgedefense.com.
That's the
They
one I was
can
looking
reach
for.
out to me on my cell phone. People call me all the time and set up private classes or come to one of our public classes. And my number, I put it on the air. It's published all over the world, so I don't care. 715-491-6952. That's 715-491-6952. Call me. Talk about what your needs are, and we can fit you into a class. We have many different classes that's best for you.
All right. Thanks, Pat. Pat Cahill, Buffalo Ridge Defense, our guest this morning on the Coffee Klatch. 9:32.